Hello, I'm kevintame, and welcome to the Hacktivist. Today, I'm going to be commentating over my round 1 match in the Stimhack Online Cache Refresh tournament. This is the 4th tournament like this, and I'm going to be playing Internet. So let's jump right into this match. So I'm on CI Moons, and this is a pretty good starting hand. I have Moons and Ultraviolet Clearance, so I decided to keep this. My opponent being on Kit, I assume that they're going to be on Inversificator. So I got to be kind of strategic with how I use my ice. I do have a lot of code gates, and so especially Enigma, and this makes it really easy for my opponent to get in. So what I'm kind of doing here is just getting money to set up for my next turn. When I see Magnum Opus, I know my opponent's no longer on Inversificator, so this makes my strategy a little different because now I know that they're going to be probably relying on Gordian Blade, and I want to, also I go ahead and install the Ichi and use the Moons because I want my opponent to face check this Ichi to try and trash Magnum Opus just in case. I don't res my Adonis there because I don't have the money to deal with it. And what I'm really focusing on here is just getting as many assets installed as possible. And hopefully I don't lose off of R&D. Good play by my opponent here using Inside Job. I didn't expect that one, and that's fine. So I'm just going to go ahead and fire the Moons. I do pull 2 in Agenda, so I do run the risk of my opponent running HQ, but that's okay. My strategy now is still the same. I have good credits. I'm able to res all of these assets, and it's also nice to get that draw from Illegal Arms Factory. I see another Moon, so this is another great opportunity. I go ahead and install it. I'm assuming my opponent doesn't have the means to deal with Ichi. And now I'm going to go ahead and protect HQ because I don't want my opponent to pick off these agendas. Agendas are going to start building up in HQ. That's just kind of the nature of this match and also CI. So that was a misclick by my opponent, which is fine. My opponent here is trying to keep my credits under control. Which is a smart move because that ends up being a struggle for me. This calibration testing is a play that I'm waiting for later, because what happens is you have MCA Austerity in this deck, and what you want to do is you want to get to 2 clicks and then click for your 3rd click, then install like an elective upgrades and advance it to 4, and then use the calibration testing to get those that extra agenda counter to be able to score it. So I also have an Ash in there. So the nice thing about it is I'm able to somewhat protect, I should say, the calibration testing. In theory, I am protecting the Moons as well, but it's more about the calibration testing. So my opponent here pulls out the Gordian Blade, which is good because they're Kit. Here, the reason I res Ichi is I'm just trying to tax them. This is a little bit of I just didn't do my orders correctly, and in theory, I should have before this moment. Before hitting OK, like to let them continue with a successful run, I should have used Moon. I'm checking with my opponent to say like, hey, this is cool. Like I messed up the timing window of this, and graciously Internet said, oh yeah, sure, go ahead and take your counters. So thank you, Internet, for not giving me a game loss on that, or forcing me to lose my Moons there. So I go ahead and I fire the Moons. I don't boost this trace because I don't think my opponent is going to, they're just going to trash the Ash and then leave the calibration testing, which is great for me, which is what I want. I'm getting a lot of agendas into HQ, and I have Enigma protecting HQ. So what I'm trying to think through here is there a way for me to score something else? I don't have a lot of assets, so I can't really start jamming a lot of things out. So I opt to just score this Vitruvius to make my life a little closer to winning the game. Obviously, 2 more points, and then just hoping that my opponent doesn't start checking HQ. which my opponent does, and this is going to be cheap access for them. So what I was really hoping by doing this violet level was that I would access an ice that I could put over HQ. Unfortunately, I drew more agendas and more assets, which is fine, but the problem right now is my opponent has some money and is going to get some accesses this turn on HQ, and my opponent pulled a elective upgrades, and so I'm really just praying. This is the moment right here where I could lose the game, and I just got really lucky that my opponent didn't hit any other agendas besides elective upgrades, because I had a lot in my hand at this point. So what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to find another piece of ice to keep my opponent out or make it more expensive for them. I was very lucky to be able to top deck SOCR Adaptive. I guess the odds are my favor. I don't have all my ice yet. I run a total of 9. But still, my opponent has Kit's ability. And so my opponent's still going to get an access here. Once again, lucky enough. The reason I put this SOCR in front is because of Kit's ability. I don't want I want there to be 2 barriers in a row. At this point, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 visible agendas. So there is no more agendas in R&D. So really, I don't even need to worry about R&D at all. So here is the play where I click up, and this is the exact play I was talking about earlier, where I use calibration testing to be able to score out the elective upgrades. Because my opponent now is on 2 credits, doesn't have enough money really to even contest HQ, and I have Vitruvius in hand and Biotics, so it's pretty much a guaranteed win at this point, unless my opponent has something like Stimhack. But at that same time, is they also need to have a barrier breaker to be able to get in. I easily score that out and win the game. I think the real lucky thing for me was that my opponent did not win off of HQ on those accesses in that 2 turns. They had a total of 4, 5 accesses and only hit the elective upgrades when I had a lot of agendas in hand. The other real great thing for me in this game is that I was able to get 2 moons with at least 4 to 5 counters on them, and that's a lot of money and a lot of card draw. And it sets me up to be able to, do an MCA austerity, also protect the ice there, and go faster than my opponent can. So let's jump right into this next match. So I'm playing Ayla, and my opponent is playing Tennin. And what I want to do in this match, let's just talk about this temporary thing. I don't want to hold events like Sure Gamble and Dirty Laundry because I want to see those in my starting hand. So I held things like Clone Chip and Yusuf and some of those pieces. I don't love the starting hand because I really want to see Ma in my starting hand or Professional Contacts. Those are my 2 kind of most important cards, especially in this match. So what I do here is I money up and I get Ma down, and I want to run almost every turn. And so I'm going to try and put as much pressure on R&D as possible, because these 10 decks, they're going to run Trick of Light, Mass Commercialization, Genotyping, and also other events that help them fast advance. And so my goal is to try and keep pinging HQ with Ma so that they can't hold on to those pieces and are not able to score out. I did see my Professional Contacts relatively early, which is great because now that's going to be my main engine. I don't really run tons of risk, I think. I might get hit with some sort of net damage, but it's good, I think, to check here to kind of see what I'm facing so that I can then dig for the appropriate pieces. I do have a turtle on NVRAM, and so Roto Turret is 0, so this is going to be great because I'm able to pull Roto Turret off and Akuma off and be able to run R&D. And the reason I ran server 1 there is because I want my opponent to res and just not have as much money. So I don't know the agenda suite at this moment, and my opponent advanced it once. So I don't want my opponent to score a Nisei Mark II because that makes my job a lot harder. And so I am on 9 credits, and I'm trying to think, how can I get into this remote? And I need Gordian Blade. I do have a test run, and I think I have the money to be able to do it. And the worst case scenario is this could be a aggressive secretary or some sort of trap, but I don't think it is. I think my opponent is just banking on the fact that I can't get in, or it makes me poor to get in. So my opponent's on medical breakthrough, and what that means is my opponent is clearly on a fast advance plan, and so I need to keep up the pressure and continue to run and hit their pieces so that they cannot get in. I didn't have quite the money to run this indexing this turn. It would have been great because I know the ice and it's predictable, but I felt it was better to get kind of set up and have Gordian here. I go ahead and check this remote because it might be an agenda, it might not. I just can't let it be an agenda because I don't want my opponent to get ahead of me. In hindsight, I shouldn't have trashed that breach dome. I should have let Ma fire because my opponent's gonna have to reinstall something in there anyways, and then it keeps it out of archive. So I think that was a misplay on my part, and I should have just let the Ma trigger fire. I'm pretty poor here, and if my opponent is able to put pieces of ice out like they did right here, it makes my job a little bit more difficult. And so what I'm doing now is just trying to get some credits up. I don't think I need SMC as much because I only have 10 cards left in my deck. I'm drawing really aggressively with professional contacts, and SMC is going to serve its purpose now anyways. So I go ahead and I'm just going in to check HQ because I'm still unsure about that R&D ice, and I want to still make a little bit of money so that I can then index my opponent next turn. So I go ahead and check. It's Miraju, which basically makes it so that my indexing plan is out of the question. My opponent has enough credits to continue to res Miraju. I could fem it, but it just, so that's also the kind of the decision I made to steal this Obokata, because I know I'm not going to need indexing. And that puts me that much closer to winning the game. I only need to hit 1 agenda now. I'm assuming my opponent is only on Brain Trust and Medical Breakthrough and not House of Knives. So the next agenda I hit, I win. So my opponent here, seeing them with 12 credits, I need to go and check archives, because if they have shipment from Tennin or they have mostly shipment of Tennin or Biotic, they score and win. And so I'm just going to check to see if there's any agendas there. There are. I see 2, which is great. Ma did work and also pinged some really great pieces that my opponent wanted to hold on to. My opponent also notes that I hit the genotyping from their hand, and that was really great for me because then they can't bring back the Medical Breakthrough. Otherwise, they want to bring that back, obviously, and put it back into R&D. Really well played by Internet. I think the key to this match is you just got to go fast, because they're going to try, and your opponent's going to try and keep the pace going the entire time and keep jamming stuff. And so I just happened to see, Ma, professional contacts, and have Turtle and MV-RAM. So I had the kind of perfect setup to kind of get going quickly. Also, I think another thing you need to do in this match, and there's a tendency to want to do this with Ma, is you kind of have to balance checking archives, because that wastes a click to go check it, right? And so this is kind of like something I did when I played Noise a lot, is I tried to mill as many as I could and then do like 1 glory run towards the end to kind of win the game. The problem is genotyping exists, so you run that risk of them bringing the agendas back. But I always find it better to just keep mawing and keep mawing and mawing until you're in a position where you're like, okay, now I need to go check because they're going to win the game here soon. Because If you keep checking and they're not there, you're wasting lots of clicks. So let's say you check 4 times over the game, that's 4 clicks, or 4 other runs you could have made on HQ and R&D, or 4 credits, 4 draws, 4 professional contacts. It's better just to, I think, check once at the end. So the real, I think, strategy here is a balance between them having genotyping and you, wasting your clicks. Well, this is a really great match. I really enjoy the Cache Refresh online tournament that Fighting Walloon does. Thank you so much for doing that, Fighting Walloon. Internet, great playing with you. Those games were quick and fast, and they were really enjoyable. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this, and if you have any questions or comments about how the match went, please let me know, and I will check you guys later. Thanks. Bye.